6,000 years ago, before the rise of great civilizations like the Mayans or the Incans, a mysterious group of humans lived in the Americas. They hunted, they gathered, they buried their dead, and then they vanished without a trace.
Not all civilizations are remembered, but some are rediscovered. High in the Colombian Andes, 2,600 meters above sea level, a group of archaeologists made a discovery that would quietly rewrite history. At a windswept site called Checua, nestled in the Bogotá Altiplano, they unearthed human remains dating back 6,000 years, long before the rise of the Muisca, Inca, or Maya. At first glance, the find looked ordinary, another group of early hunter-gatherers, but beneath the dirt lay a genetic story no one expected. Some truths sleep beneath stone. The first mystery, no one even knew they existed. For centuries, these people remained entirely off the historical radar. They left no cities, no pottery, no writing. Their tools were made of bone and stone. They cooked over open fire, stored food in baskets or hides, and moved with the seasons. These were pre-ceramic hunter-gatherers living thousands of years before agriculture reshaped the continent. A culture without clay, but not without story. But then came the shock. Their DNA told a different tale. When researchers extracted genetic material from their petrous bones and teeth, the results were baffling. These individuals didn't match the genetic profile of any known indigenous group in the Americas. They were unrelated to modern South Americans, unconnected to North American populations, separate even from the ancient Clovis-associated peoples of the North, a lineage from nowhere. They didn't fit anywhere on the map. This wasn't just an unknown tribe, it was an unknown branch of humanity, a genetic ghost. Their discovery challenges everything we thought we knew about early migration into South America, erased from memory, revived by science. And so, the silence broke. From deep beneath the mountain soil, a long-lost people began to speak, not in words, but in strands of ancient DNA. A mystery had surfaced. Who were they? Where did they come from? And what happened to them? The past doesn't disappear, it waits. When archaeologists fall silent, DNA begins to speak. The people of Checua left no ruins, no pottery, no scripts carved in stone. But they left behind something even more revealing, their bodies. From teeth and dense inner ear bones, the petrous portion of the skull, scientists extracted ancient DNA that would crack open the enigma of who they really were. What the data revealed was astonishing. Bones don't lie. These people didn't belong to any known lineage. Using advanced tools like F3 and F4 statistics and admixture modeling, researchers discovered that the Checua individuals carried a basal genetic signature, a deep early offshoot that separated from all other known indigenous populations in the Americas. They weren't related to the Clovis culture of North America. They didn't match the early Channel Island settlers. They stood apart entirely, unconnected, unplaced, unknown. In genetic terms, they were an outgroup. That means they branched off early, perhaps one of the first human waves to enter South America, but one that remained isolated. Their DNA showed no specific affinity with any modern or ancient group. It was like discovering a new thread in a nearly complete tapestry, one no one expected, a missing piece with no pattern. Even their Y chromosome and mitochondrial haplogroups told a strange story. Most of the Checua men shared a paternal marker called Q1B1A, common among Native Americans, yet their maternal lines, B2, A2D, C1, were unusually diverse. It was a paradox. Familiar markers wrapped in an unfamiliar genome, known roots, unknown tree, they came from nowhere and went the same way. This discovery didn't just add a footnote to migration history, it tore open a new chapter, forcing scientists to reconsider how and how often humans entered the Americas. Some legacies live in silence until the code reveals them. To understand their fate, we must first understand their world. The Bogotá Altiplano wasn't an easy place to live. At 2,600 meters above sea level, the air was thin and the nights bit cold. Surrounded by the towering ridges of the eastern Andes, this highland plateau was both a refuge and a prison. Here, a small band of humans carved out a life in the open grasslands and wetlands, high ground, hard living. They were survivors, not settlers. These people were true nomads. There was no pottery, no signs of farming, no permanent structures. Their shelters were likely temporary, woven from plant fibers or hides. They traveled with the seasons, tracking herds of deer, fishing in the Altiplano's rivers, and gathering wild tubers and berries. Every meal was earned from the land with tools carved from bone and stone. No crops, no kings, just survival. Their isolation wasn't just physical, it was genetic. Homozygosity analysis, an examination of identical DNA inherited from both parents, revealed little inbreeding, but also a very small population. These were close-knit communities, perhaps a few dozen people at a time. Their world was narrow but stable, tight bonds in thin air. Why were they so alone? The Andes may have shielded them from neighboring groups or cut them off entirely. Whether by choice or circumstance, they lived apart. There's no clear evidence of cultural exchange, trade, or conflict, just silence and stone tools scattered across the ground. Alone in the high places, still they thrived until they didn't. For thousands of years, these hunter-gatherers endured. But without writing or walls, their memory faded fast. Only through the genome does their world come back into focus. Harsh, quiet, and utterly unique, a forgotten way of life, written in code. Some disappearances are silent, but total. By 2,000 years ago, the people of Checua were gone, not moved, not absorbed, gone. Their DNA leaves no trace in the people who came after them. Using tools like admixture and QP wave, methods that break apart genomes and trace ancestral threads, scientists found no signs of interbreeding. The ancient lineage vanished as if erased, replaced, not remembered. In their place, new people arrived, different in every way. From around 2000 to 1200 years ago, a new population emerged in the Bogotá Altiplano. These groups carried genetic ties to Central America, not to the earlier Checua inhabitants. Alongside this shift came new tools, pottery, and farming practices, hallmarks of the Herrera and later Muisca ceramic cultures. The age of hunter-gatherers had ended. Ceramics marked the change. But how do entire populations disappear? There was no single catastrophe. Instead, multiple pressures likely pushed the Checua out: climate fluctuations that altered food supplies, rising competition for land and water, or diseases carried by newcomers. Farming may have tipped the balance. Those who could cultivate could outlast. Domestication defeats nomadism. And still, not a drop of blood was shared. No mixed burials, no hybrid genomes. The genetic evidence is startlingly clear. The Checua didn't blend in, they were fully replaced. It's as if two civilizations passed in the same valley without ever truly meeting. Two histories, no handshake. It's one of prehistory's cleanest cutoffs. No war, no legend, no warning, just absence. And yet, thanks to DNA, we now know they were here, and that they were someone else entirely, not lost to time, just buried by it. Some stories don't end, they ripple. The people of Checua vanished from the gene pool with eerie precision. No trace in the DNA of modern Colombians. No genetic echoes in the later Muisca or neighboring groups. How could such a population disappear so completely? Their clean genetic break raises questions not just about their fate, but about our understanding of the Americas. Gone but not irrelevant. They're not the only ones lost to time. Other ancient groups like the Beringians of Alaska or the Channel Islands peoples off California show similar isolation, genetic lineages that branched early and left little behind. The Checua fit this pattern, a splinter population that entered early, settled in isolation, and vanished without integration. History has more footnotes than headlines. The Clovis first story is over. For decades, textbooks told us the first Americans came in a single wave across the Bering Land Bridge. But Checua, like other outlier groups, suggests multiple migrations, some possibly coastal, some inland, separated by space, time, and survival strategies. Their genome opens a door to a more complex, richer story of first peoples. One bridge, many paths. New tools may still find them. Emerging techniques like single-cell sequencing and isotopic tracing could reveal hidden links, traces of diet, migration, or even faint ancestral signals buried in obscure populations. Could remnants of the Checua survive in Amazonian tribes? In Chibchan-speaking groups? We don't know yet, but now we know to look. Technology is catching up with memory. Their story isn't over, it's just begun. The Checua remind us that early America was not a straight line. It was a tangle of paths, many still unexplored. With each ancient genome, we get closer to seeing the full picture. The past is not behind us, it's unfolding.